Hi everyone, Steve Williams here from Solar Cleaning TV. I'd like to welcome you all to the latest podcast. Here today we've got Josh Laine, who's a solar panel cleaner from the States. We're going to have a chat with Josh, all things solar panel cleaning, window cleaning, business, maybe touch on some life as well. So
Absolutely.
welcome Josh to today's podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much, Steve. Excited to be here. Excited to jab with you and have some good conversations. I'm sure we'll have some fun stuff come up, especially since you told me it's going to be a pretty free flowing podcast. So I'm excited. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you very much for making the time. So I'm in the UK, Josh is in California. So there's
Yeah,
a bit of a time difference between us, but we've managed at last to synchronize our diaries and schedules so we can get this done. So thanks for setting aside the time there, Josh.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
tell us a little bit about your background as regards your career then. So let's go back to when you left
Yeah,
high
so
school and start from there.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, immediately after high school, I had a couple jobs, but they ended pretty quick, and I got into the solar industry fast. Like right when I turned 18, I had just graduated. So I installed for Solar City and Tesla for about 3 years.
Okay.
So I could install a system from front to back by myself. I ran an entire crew by myself and trained 5 brand new guys. So we had some fun. We were called a new homes crew. So we were working on, homes that were halfway built, slapping solar on the roofs. They had tile roofs, but they had specific little composition pads to make our installation much easier. So we were doing
Okay.
like 75 panels a day on 3 different houses. So it was fun. And then after I moved from Solar City, I moved to Vivint Solar, and I did inspection with them for about 2.5 years. I got a managerial position there and ran my own inspections department as well. So we go out and meet with city inspectors and inspect our electrical work that our team had done on the
Sure.
system. Sure, everything was up to code and we were good to go. And it was really where I started to see, the need for this in our market over here. These panels were really dirty and they're getting turned on, 6 months sometimes after they're installed because the city's so
Yeah.
backed up with inspections.
Yeah.
And, customers aren't receiving the production that they're originally sold from the solar company. So
Mm.
I immediately knew that there was a need for cleaning. And before I ended up leaving my position at Vivint, I had started this company. So then I left Vivint just because, there was no need for me to be there anymore. I wanted to go full time with my own business. So I did. And, now we're coming up on our 5th year anniversary next month.
Right. Congratulations. Excellent. So I can see from the hat it's Solar Shine, the name of the company. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. That's cool. That's cool. So what would you say you classify yourself as being in the solar industry? How many years then?
We're at this upcoming, we're coming up on our 11th calendar year in the solar industry. Yeah.
Okay, wow, excellent. So that's the same as me then. So we've been in the industry a similar amount of time, which is really good. Have things changed in the uptake of solar in California that you've seen? Is it busier now with installations than it has been in the past, or
A
pretty much
hundred
the same?
percent, a hundred
Yeah.
percent. A lot of the new installations, I think, are creating a lot of new work as well because they're building, entire new developments out here, like lots of housing developments where it's just neighborhoods full of 500 to 1,000 houses. And there was a new law passed not too long ago where, every new residential or commercial building being built in California had to have solar put on it or a certain amount of solar to offset the energy for the state. So everything that was getting built, all new homes that were getting built had to be built with solar. So that just added, millions and millions and millions of panels to all of our areas here. I mean, every city really is building. So
Yeah.
it's
Excellent.
it's
Excellent.
continuing to grow.
So if people try to circumvent that new ruling by the Californian housing development people, because here in the UK, I think there's been a similar kind of law passed or similar sort of regulation passed where they're trying to force developers to install solar panels on the roof. So we see quite a few houses over here with just two solar panels on because they don't really want to do more
Yeah.
than is necessary. So do you have a minimum standard over there per kilowatt that you're
It's
allowed
pretty
to put on the roof?
strange. It is pretty strange. We won't really see houses with that low of panels, but we will see houses with 10 panels or 12 panels, or even we have a couple houses that have 7 or 8,
Yeah.
which is pretty rare. But it does happen. And, those customers are, kind of out because they have to pay for the solar and pay for energy from, our energy company named PG&E out here. So I'm sure it can
Mm.
be kind of frustrating.
And what do you think the main driver has been recently as regards people taking up solar? Is it this? I mean, on new builds, obviously, they're now forced to install solar. How about older houses where they're retrospectively installing? What do you think the main driver has been?
Well, I honestly think the main driver has been sales and companies that are out here selling solar. They're hitting doors like crazy. I mean, I have people come to my door all the time and they're like, "Can I sell you solar?" And I'm like, "I rent." No.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
go to somebody else.
yeah.
Uh, as you can see, I have 3 solar trucks outside. So,
That's right. That's right.
um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So over here in the UK, and indeed across Europe, we've had massive energy price increases. Have you seen anything like that in the state
oh
of
yeah.
California recently? Yeah.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing that's happening here, and I do believe there was a couple years where that was active, where all our new builds had that new solar, but I think that's since gone to the wayside. But
Mm.
also, all our energy has gone up. But there's new laws being passed in California that are basically decentivizing our entire state to buy solar. And the
Okay.
reason being is because PG&E has decided to no longer basically pay its customers for extra energy that they produce and give back to the grid.
Yeah.
I'm assuming because they're just having to pay to store all this extra energy and they don't have
Yeah.
anywhere to put it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're tired of paying people for it.
Okay. So we had a similar sort of system over here in the UK. We had a feed-in tariff where the government or the energy company would pay you for electricity that you created. And it was a very, very good return system. You know, you got a high rate of return for your investment. And people are being paid a lot of money as time rolls on for the next, like, if they signed up 10 years ago, they got another 10 years to go on the feed-in tariff. I think the feed-in tariff, the original one, to be honest, was about 8 years. So 8 years ago, people signed up for it, and those people have got another 12 years left. But now there's no feed-in tariff at all in the UK. But
Wow.
we are busier installing solar panels than we've ever been on residential, commercial, industrial, and utility scale. So we've never been busier as an industry. And this is because in Europe, our energy prices have shot up so much, and the cost of installing solar has come down so
Oh,
much that actually you don't need a financial incentive to install anymore. Um, so when we saw this kind of situation previously, when the government announced a drop in the feed-in tariff, there was a massive spike of people looking to install solar panels. And as a result of that, companies just went wild. They were installing solar in a bad way. They were importing cheap products. They were literally just working dangerously, running across roofs, just trying to bang as many solar panels on the roof as they could and get the jobs done before the cut-off period for the feed-in tariff. Have you seen any of that sort of thing going on over in the States, in
you
California,
know,
or not?
we have I call them two chucks in a truck, and we have
Okay.
too many of them. We have too many of them in the states, especially in California. I mean, I'm partnered with about 18 different solar companies that do
Yeah.
installation, and they contract us for cleaning on their customer systems as well as bird abatement. We help keep birds out from underneath systems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem, and we've actually been able to educate solar companies about these issues, and they've worked in our product on a brand new installation. So after the system is installed, it's been approved by the city and it's been turned on. We immediately go and protect it, so the customer doesn't have to worry about those issues on their home. Because we've
Yeah.
seen jobs cost $10,000 because the problems were so bad on someone's home, and even more when it comes to water damage that can happen on the inside. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I lost track though. What was the question?
Yeah, so I was just wondering if you saw this spike in bad workmanship
Bad
because
installation.
people were
Yeah.
racing against
So,
deadlines.
like I was saying, I work with 18 solar companies, and those guys are all really top notch. But I do see that, sometimes they'll contract work out to a smaller company. We'll go to do an installation of, our bird wire on that solar system, and it is just not up to par. I mean, I've had to go through and take 100 photos of systems that had improperly wired systems, not
Yeah.
grounded correctly. Um, panels that weren't supported properly, broken supports, like just so many issues. I mean, even supports from the roof were just loose. So
Mm.
I've had, multiple systems, probably at least 20 a year that I have to report to my higher ups because they'll hire a subcontractor that is just not up to par.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah. I would say on the residential market that we service over here, if we go to carry out a clean on a residential property that we've never done before, I would say that probably 85 to 90% of systems have got faults. So that
I
opens up.
would say that I would say that too for
Yeah.
our for the states over here.
Yeah, yeah. So it opens up a massive market into operations and maintenance, or O&M as we call it in the industry, doesn't
Yeah.
it? So we started life in 2013 as a solar cleaning company. We just focused on cleaning. We developed over time into an O&M company because I discovered that so many systems had faults out there. And then eventually, with enough years under our belt of finding faults, identifying faults, and then fixing faults, I started looking at systems thinking, well, I could design them and install them better than this. And so we've now got an installation company that we've set up. So normally you find that people come from the top down. It goes installation, O&M. Some O&M companies creep into cleaning, but not really very many. But we've reversed that. We've gone cleaning, O&M, installation. So all of our installs that we design and maintain are built on the premise that they need to be easy to maintain, easy to reach, easy to access and safe in the first place.
Wow.
So bringing up sort of the safe word, it's one of my pet words really is revolving around
Yeah,
safety. I think I've
I
got a bit of a
understand.
reputation as for being nailed on safety. So if you don't mind, Josh, are you able to share some of the safety training that you've had at companies in the past when you've been working installing solar
Yeah.
panels? So forget cleaning for now. Let's focus on the installation.
Yeah, I mean, we even roll a lot of those safety procedures that we've learned from installation into solar cleaning,
Excellent.
because it's impossible to do the cleaning without using those safety methods and
Yeah.
be abiding by the law at the same time. You have to,
Yeah.
you have to, you have to, you have to. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
And that's the OSHA standards out here in the States, especially in California. They're very strict. So
Mm.
that was what I learned. I went through multiple OSHA courses and multiple OSHA training for roof safety, fall endangerment, harness training, and all the different stuff that you need when it comes
Yeah.
to temporary anchors and permanent anchors and so on and so forth. So they taught us how to install and uninstall properly on a roof a temporary anchor. How to use a harness and a rope properly.
Yeah.
To certain degree you're allowed to use your ropes in. After that, you need to switch to a different temporary anchor. There's so many rules and regulations that go with working on a roof, and that
Mm.
is the only way they install out here. Not a lot of
Yeah.
installation companies are thinking about cleaning, thinking about operations and the maintenance, or thinking about easy access like you are.
Mm.
So
Mm.
they're installing everything on 1 story, 2 story, 3 story houses. They don't care what it is. They
Yeah.
get up, slap it up, and they're out of there.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's right. It's a very short term focus that they've got, isn't it? They're not thinking 20 years ahead.
definitely not.
So how have you managed to migrate some of those safety principles from installation into your current cleaning business? And also a second question, do you do any O&M in the cleaning business as well or not?
Yeah, so I was actually going to say, congratulations on getting in, doing it backwards, going from cleaning into O&M and then installation. You
Thank you.
are actually one of the people in the industry that I look up to. So thankful for a lot of your safety procedures and a lot of the knowledge that you give to people. So, thank you
That's
again for being
kind.
a leader in the industry. We're
Thank you.
looking at getting into operations and maintenance and installation ourselves. We've got a team of people that are tired of working at the company they're working at, and we can help provide them, a bit of job freedom here at Solar Shine. They can run their own independent installation crew, and these are master electricians and master roofers that we know to be so meticulous with their work.
Yeah.
So we're excited. It's in conversation, and it may take a bit of time to get everything up and rolling. But we currently do not do any operations and maintenance, and that's because we do not have the licensing currently.
Sure. Okay. So you're aware of the IWCA, I assume, the International Window Cleaning Association.
Yeah.
Um, I was at their convention in Vegas last January. Was able to run a solar track of classes along with Carla Dawson. So our shared skill sets meant we could steer people in the correct direction regarding
Yeah, I
safety.
saw you guys posting there, and that looked like you guys had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did. It was a fantastic, sort of few days that we had there at the convention, and I'm going back to the next year convention. So January 24, it's going to be at Galveston, Texas. I don't know if it's got quite the bright lights of Vegas, but I'm sure Texas is going to be a hoot anyway. But I'll be running there an O&M class, and I'm going to be going through with solar panel cleaners what you can do as a competent person without necessarily having proper training and qualification, because there are some remedial works that with the correct head knowledge you can do,
Yeah.
and with the correct safety methods you can do. So I don't know what your schedule is like. If you or any of the viewers are able to make the convention, it's at the end of January. I think tickets are on sale now on the IWCA website, but they will be running another solar track, and I'll be there as well doing the ISCA rooftop solar training course as well for solar panel cleaners. So there's going to be a strong solar theme at the next convention. So, but we will talk about O&M as well. We're going to go into some detail. I'm going to have some practical hands-on solar panels there so that people can mess about. So that's sort
kind
of
get their hands, kind of get some hands-on knowledge and get to tinker and play with it a little bit. That's really cool. I'll have to look at the dates. I'll catch the dates again at the end of this podcast and see what I can make happen. But I think that would be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'd be great to see you there. So sticking with the safety theme then, one of the things that's been bounced back to me when I spoke about this on various chat rooms and Facebook is OSHA doesn't apply to single operators, single man operating businesses. So what's your take on OSHA as an organization? You know, we know very well that they can only fine organizations, but if you're one man band, what can you do to be aligned?
If you're a one-man band, you know, I feel like the reason that's said or stipulated that way is because I feel like most one-man bands aren't doing big enough jobs, big enough work, you know, revenue, you know, they don't need to go pull a permit for the type of jobs that they're doing. So OSHA is not technically on their radar. You know, that company is not technically on OSHA's radar. I feel like is the stipulation that most people believe. But you never know when an OSHA representative is going to be at a neighbor's home doing an inspection or a checkup on a legitimate company that is doing a water heater replacement and needs to, you know, be checked that they're following the OSHA standards, or somebody had some electrical done. You never know who's around or what could be happening, especially when it comes to, you know, there's hundreds of city inspectors running around the city all day inspecting hundreds of items that you would never imagine would be near you, you know? So if you're a one-man operator, you have a lot of things to think about when it comes to following the rules. You have a lot of things to think about when it comes to not hurting yourself because you're alone on the job site. And you're not going to be able to call for anybody if your phone's broken because you fell from a 2-story and your legs and your arms are broken. So you know, if you're a one-man band, you have a lot to think about, and you have a lot to, you know, you have a lot to prepare for, especially if you're looking to get home at the end of the day safely to your family.
Yeah, so I totally agree with you. My response has always been when I've come across that, well, the fine from OSHA may not be coming your way. The law of OSHA may not be particularly technically applicable to you. However, last time I checked, the laws of gravity applied all across the earth, irrespective of OSHA or whether they're there or not. 100%. And also the laws of electricity apply as well. And as you quite rightly highlight, if you're on your own and you suffer a fall or you suffer an electrocution, you're in more trouble than the company who's got multiple operators. Because if there's 2 guys on site, one of them is going to know that you've gone missing. So I think that irrespective of whether OSHA can fine you, the principles of being trained to know your way around a solar array, to understand the electrocution risks, to understand what fall prevention measures you need to put in place, they apply to everybody. If you've got 100 employees or you're on your own going out in your truck, you still need to know all these things. So in my opinion, the principles of OSHA apply to everybody, even though the letter of the law of OSHA may not. So it's why I particularly push the safety, and I'm engaged in looking at safety methodologies and safety regulations from literally the major Western sort of areas. So the US with OSHA, Canada, Australia, obviously here in the UK. I've developed best practice guidelines for rooftop O&M, along with a number of other experts in the UK over here. The first edition was released in 2020 to the UK market. The
Yeah.
second edition was released across Europe in 2021. So having co-authored a document like that, understanding health and safety in the way that I do, and now teaching health and safety, it's a subject that I feel in America is low on the agenda, but needs to sort of climb up the ladder a little bit. So
Yeah, it's
where do
something.
you go on,
Sorry
Josh?
about
Yeah?
that. Oh, I was just saying, safety is something in the U.S., I agree is definitely lacking. I've seen you start pushing your training a lot out here and made, tailored a lot of your courses for, even a couple different areas in the States. I think that's amazing, but that's definitely something I'm looking at getting into myself here this year. I think education for the people that are getting into this industry is most important right now because like we were talking about earlier, the two chucks in a truck, we have a lot of those guys joining our industry now. It's outside of, because we've created an entire industry outside of solar installation, outside of
Yeah.
operations and maintenance, we're paving a way. There are no categories for us in insurances. There's no categories for us in, so those things are starting to become more prevalent. But we have a lot of people joining the industry that don't know what they're doing. They're really risking hurting themselves or quite frankly killing themselves on accident, and that's the harsh truth. So
So
safety is
you're
something
you
we're
you
really looking at spreading.
so you've done installation, right? There's a lot of people out there cleaning solar panels that have not done installation. And one of the things that I again get pointed at me is this subject of electrocution. As a solar installer, are you in agreement with me that there are electrocution risks when it comes to cleaning solar panels and they're not easily mitigated?
Do you want to hear something that most people probably haven't heard?
Go for it.
I've been electrocuted more than 3 times cleaning commercial rooftop solar systems. Cleaning, cleaning. This is
Okay.
not during installation. I
Mm-hmm.
myself personally have been electrocuted by 3 systems, and that's me standing in between 2 rows of panels, and my pants came up above my boot and my shin touched the metal frame of the system. And at first it felt like kind of a burn, I thought maybe a bug had got me. I wasn't paying attention. So I
Yeah.
kept on cleaning. And the second time my leg hit that panel, I knew, I felt it. And I
Yeah.
got my equipment. I got my pants fixed around my boot, and I went to let the customer know immediately because
Mm.
somewhere something in your system is not connected properly. There's a
Yeah.
lead somewhere that's exposed. Something is shorted, and we need to get a maintenance team here immediately because
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do here until that problem gets fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of my members of staff suffered a very mild electrocution on a it's more like a static shock when we were doing some bird proofing on one system years ago,
Mhm.
and I've had the same when I've been bird proofing as well. So I've had a very mild, today is very cloudy and overcast in the UK, and thankfully on both the days when we had ours, then it was the same sort of weather. But on a bright sunny day, the voltage that's running through systems is increased. If you're working first thing in the morning, it may not be so bad as the sun's coming up. If you're working late in the afternoon as the sun's going down, it may not be so bad. But if you've
Yeah,
got some decent sunshine in the area over here in the
you're at
UK, the
risk.
maximum voltage that's running through is 900 volts. It's going to make you tickle. You get 900 volts run through your
Oh
foot
yeah.
or through your hand, and you're going to know all about it. So I appreciate your honesty in sharing that with us, and I hope it highlights to watchers of the program here that it is a real risk. And Josh has
It
been in the
is.
industry 10 years. I've been around for 10 years, and both of us are saying, this is something you absolutely need
And
to be paying attention
that's
to.
wearing the proper equipment, the rubber boots, the rubber gloves, the
Yeah.
safety equipment. That's what I've got on. But sometimes the way you have to move in this industry, you can have unexpected things happen, like your clothing.
Mm, mm, mm.
Move in a way that you don't want it to. So
Yeah.
there's risks. There's risk with cleaning solar, and you need to know them before you jump on a roof and start touching somebody's 7.4 kilowatt system.
Yeah. And that's the key word, Josh. You mentioned it in your sentence. You need to know when. before. Before. So, in my opinion, nobody should be out cleaning solar panels until they've had the training.
Yeah.
You can't think, well, I'll do a little bit and then I'll save some money and then I'll go get trained. None of us learn to drive like that.
And that's what
None of
I'm
us.
saying. That's what's happening in my industry. I mean, I opened my company 5 years ago, and I mean, a year after I opened my company, I had two competitors within 2.5 miles from me, and they
Mm,
were just jumping on roofs, no idea what they were doing. Granted, they did have some of the proper equipment, but they weren't using any safety equipment. They put themselves at risk, their family, their family's main breadwinner at risk.
yeah,
And that's what's happening. They're seeing us advertise online. They're seeing the work that we're doing, and they're like, "Hey, I can do that. I can throw a ladder up and jump on someone's roof and do that and charge for that."
yeah, yeah,
And you know, you may think that's the case, but you can really hurt yourself. You can really put the customer at risk. Um, for a lot. And
yeah,
you just should know the laws and know the law of physics when it comes to electricity and solar
yeah.
systems and photovoltaic energy and all of it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Um, let's think a little bit about the future of solar shine then, Josh. You've said where you've come from in the solar industry and where you are currently now. You're doing a mix of residential and commercial clients, along with the bird proofing as well and stopping the birds from getting under the panels. So
Yes,
what's
sir.
the next 5 years of solar shine look like? Where do you want to go?
Yeah, the next 5 years, I'm looking to double the amount of people we have in our residential field. I'm looking to double the amount of people we have in our commercial field because we're growing. When it comes to our customer base, when it comes to our commercial accounts, we are going to have a lot of work here coming up in, I mean, even this summer.
Yeah.
I've got to hire here soon. So the next 5 years, we are, like I told you, we were looking at getting into some operations and maintenance and installation. And that reason being is because we have some licensing available to us.
Okay.
I'll have to go through a bit of testing myself, as most electrical,
Yeah.
things go. But I will be basically getting underwritten on a master electrician's licensing. So our
Okay.
company
That's
will
good.
have the ability to install and do the operations and maintenance side of things.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So we've built and we're licensing. We're in the process of licensing a couple of tools, and one of them is actually a 20-year O&M life cycle tool. So what we've developed this in house. It's not commercially available yet, but it will be very soon. Um, what you're able to do is input some data into the front end of the system about the system size and other parameters, and then it automatically creates a 20-year life cycle, how often you need to clean that system, what
Wow.
months you need to clean in, how often you need to get it thermal imaged, how often
Wow.
you need to get it serviced, when you can expect inverters to fail. And so what we've done alongside of that is all the O&M budgets as well. So
Wow.
at the moment, every solar installer that I know of, there might be other people out there doing this, but I don't know of any. They will calculate the return on the investment for their client based on just 0.5% natural degradation of the panels as
Yes.
time passes. So they'll say year one, your system is going to be 100%. Year 20, you would have lost 10% of your output by natural degradation of the silicon within the panels.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Smith, we can expect your payback to be in year 7 or year 8. But that's not true, is it? Because they've not factored in any panel cleans. They've not factored in an inverter replacement in, let's say, year 10. And
Or
none
a
of those
broken
maths,
panel from hail.
yeah, yeah, any of those things are not factored in. So we've created an O&M tool which gives our installation clients a very accurate picture of what their true return on investment is going to be. So this is new. I don't know anybody else, and it's taken me quite a while to
I
get
haven't,
this
I have
developed.
not heard of anything like that. I don't know if is it an application that you're gonna have for sale? Because
Yeah, we're going to license it through the ISCA website. Yeah, yeah. So people will pay a
that's gonna
monthly.
be great, and it'll be a huge game changer for our industry,
Yeah,
especially players like us that are gonna be involved in the operations and maintenance and installation side of things.
yeah. So when we design a system for our client, we can say, let's say it's a residential. We say, okay, it's going to be 5 kilowatts going on your roof. It's going to be X amount of pounds. This is how often you need to clean it. This is how often you need to service it. This is when you're going to need to spend some money on an inverter. And we calculate all those costs in. And instead of payback being in year 7, we say, actually, Mr. Smith, in reality, it's going to be 8.2 years before you get your money back. But that's factoring in all of your O&M costs for the next 20 years.
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Customers love it.
When when typically do you see most people need a change on their inverter?
Well, it depends on what inverter they buy.
Okay.
So some cheaper inverters out there, they might carry a 5-year warranty. The inverter may actually go in year 3 or year 4 if it's particularly cheap, and that inverter company may have gone bust. So you go and try and make a claim on that inverter. Well, guess what? They're not in business anymore, so you can't
We've
make a
had
claim.
so many of those manufacturer issues here in
Yeah,
the States. It has been such a problem. I mean, I even have customers of my own that, they'll hire us to go and do a cleaning for their system, but their system hasn't produced anything in
yeah.
they don't know how long. They don't have a communication part of their system to tell them how
No
much
monitoring.
nothing.
Yeah, yeah. So they don't have a clue. It'll break, and people just don't know it's broke until they get the lack of payment at the end of their electricity year or calendar year or whatever it is. Another thing that we do is we tie people into the O&M contracts. So we say to people, if you'd like us to install the system, one of the caveats of that is you have to go into a 20-year O&M contract with us. Now, at that point, some people say no, and we say, okay, that's fine. You're not our customer then.
Yeah.
We're going to design you the system that you actually need, not the system that you think you want. We're going to tell you how often it needs to be cleaned, tell you how often it needs to be serviced. Now, this is
Because
not.
you're giving them the honest truth of their
Yeah,
system, what needs
yeah,
to
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
We don't have no installers that are doing that. No
No,
salespeople out here let our customers know. They say, "Oh, it's a low profile system. No birds will go underneath it." Like that's the
yeah,
perfect place for birds to go.
yeah,
Hundreds of
yeah,
types.
absolutely, absolutely. And
But you don't need
every
to clean
single,
it. The
yeah,
rain will
and
clean it. That's
it's
not true. You
nonsense.
can't tell people that.
Yeah, yeah. And every single one of our residential installs, when we cost it for the client, includes bird proofing. So literally, as soon as we install the system, we bird
Genius.
proof it, then we energize it. It's done then, isn't it? It's done,
Genius.
you know?
That's what we've
So
managed to get all of the solar companies we've partnered with out here to do, to get that on the front end. So the customer is done and protected. No need to worry about it.
no, because people get angry. You know, we turn up and we say, "Oh, Mr. Smith, I'm afraid you got a load of pigeons nesting under the panels, and your cables are hanging in places they shouldn't be hanging.
Ah,
Therefore, you got to spend another 12 or £1,300 repairing it." And they're like, "Well, that's outrageous," and they're not happy. But we say, "Well, it's not. We didn't install it for you. If we'd have installed it, you wouldn't have had this issue. Yeah, you
yeah.
might pay an extra £500 on the front end to install the system by us because our design is more expensive, but you don't
Yeah.
have the retrospective high costs. And that's what I believe should be the true way to design and install a system is with O&M in mind. And it just hasn't happened over here in the UK or Europe for ever since the industry got going. So
Or in the
I
US.
yeah, so I really want to change that, and I'm hoping that the O&M tool can be dispersed throughout the industry, and people will use it for a very small nominal monthly fee, and then they've got access to it then, and you can use that retrospectively. If that system is installed 4 years ago, well, you just start at year 4, you punch your numbers in at year 4, and it spits it out. You've got graphs and you've got soiling losses. We can
Oh
calculate
yeah.
how much
That's
money the
smart.
person will lose from soiling losses. So we hope
Genius.
to do a lot of help with the industry with that particular tool. It's complicated, but we've got there with it. Yeah,
Genius. I love it, man. I can't wait to see it.
yeah, cool, cool. So Josh, another question I like to ask folks is about life ambition. If there's one thing that you would like to do in your life in business or life in general, what would that one thing like? What would you like it to be? What would you like to mission accomplished? Josh Laine, top of his tree, job done.
Yeah, well, I'll give you two answers. I'll give you one for business and one for life.
Okay.
Uh, Life, I feel like, is about legacy. So I'm working on many children. I'd
Okay.
like to have, I'd like to have not like a crazy amount of children, but I think 3 to 5 is a great amount of children. I
Cool.
want to have a big family.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting my first here coming July 26th, my first daughter. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. Excellent. Congratulations.
So starting the family legacy now. But for business, I would love to grow my company to be, one of the highest recognized in our country. I want to help people. That's why I started this business, and I know for a fact I've helped my community in the cities that I've worked in save hundreds of thousands of dollars
Yeah,
in water damage and so much more.
yeah,
I've saved people from house fires, from wires that were chewed open, and the system was arcing underneath when we got up
yeah,
to clean. So that's really why I started this business, was to help people. But at the same time, it's for my family. It's to become financially, stable forever.
yeah,
Financially free. So.
yeah.
Um, I just want my company to be recognized, and be a leader in our industry here in this country.
Really interesting. I am very much driven the same way. So let's dive into this subject of legacy then. Where does this come from then, Josh? What is it in you that you feel you need to leave something behind? Where's this start?
Well, it sparked kind of from, one of my older brother's friends. He's recently, we've been chatting quite a bit, and he's, big on family legacy. But, you know, for me, I feel like, when I'm dead and gone, my money's not going to matter, except for, obviously what I can leave behind for my family. Great, good and all, but like, it's not for me, right? It does nothing for me. Money, any car I get, any house I have, like when I'm dead and gone, there's nothing that I've left behind
Mm,
except for what's alive, my children, my family, So who did I bring into this world, and what can they contribute to their community? What can they do when they grow up with a loving household, and the knowledge that my dad raised me with a good work ethic. He worked 7 days a week. He really worked five. He worked 16 hours a day. He was gone at 5 a.m., home at 7 p.m.
yeah,
But when he was off on Wednesdays and Sundays, he was carting me out to Stockton,
yeah,
which is an hour away from where we live, to go to our rental properties. And we were
yeah,
replacing linoleum floors and painting homes and getting people to rent the house. So I never watched him stop working. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'd like to have a lot of children to leave a legacy behind too, and a company worth something. We've got trucks, we've got team members and families that we feed, and I'd love for that to be continued if possible. I'd love for them to start their own companies and do their own good in the world. So that's
yeah.
where
Cool.
this kind of legacy thing stems from. I know what I've done is good, and I want to do so much more. And I
Mm.
just think if I can raise a bunch of little me's that will want to do that too, that would rock.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So often when I talk to people who are motivated in the way that you and I are motivated, we find that they are not so much running towards something that's dragging them forward, but they may be running away from something that's trying to pull them back. Do you think there's an element of that in there with you as well, or not? Do you think that
Yeah,
something in
definitely.
your
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm 28 years old. I'm fairly young. Um, but I've lived a long life already. I've learned many lessons, many hard lessons, very young too. I went to jail for a small amount of time because of some dumb decisions, and I was addicted to drugs and alcohol for a few years, and it was not a good time when I was younger. I put myself in some really bad positions, and not good places. But thankfully, through friends, family, love, and light, I was able to learn, see what I was doing wrong, and I wasn't contributing anything to anybody, especially myself. I was just wasting away. So
yeah,
what can I do to change that? What can I do to do some good in this world, to extend my hand to somebody, to help them in the way that I was helped by my friends and family. So, I look to do a lot of community work nowadays. Things have been a little bit tighter with our economy here, but things are picking up this summer. So I'm hoping we're
yeah,
going to be able to do a community-wide event here soon, where we can offer, a resume stand, and a clothing stand with brand new clothes for people to pick from and take and food, a bunch of food vendors that are there for the community because our homeless community that's here is very big. And we have a company named Covered Streets out here that does free showers and stuff like that. So I'd love to have them come and be a part of a community wide something where we can give back and maybe give people an opportunity to get out of a bad position that they might be in. So, like you
So
said, yes,
if,
I feel like
if
those decisions are pushing me towards, um,
yeah,
you know,
it's interesting, isn't it? How past traumas they they push people in certain directions. For the benefit of our listeners and watchers, is there a website that they can go to help with that company? Do you want to just repeat the name of the company that you were just speaking about there?
yeah, the company that I was speaking about was Cloud Covered Streets. I do believe they have a website, and I will look it up to get you the proper URL. I'll do that
That's
now.
cool.
We
We'll
can
we'll
edit out
drop it in the link. We'll drop it in the link
Okay,
below. Yeah,
sweet,
that's cool. That's cool.
perfect.
We'll do that when we finish the video. We can drop it in the comment section below. That's brilliant. So your dad, it sounds, was a really hardworking guy. So what was it that took you down the path of the drink and the drugs and the sort of wayward lifestyle? You know, because it sounds like your dad was setting you an excellent example. So
I did
where did you
have
fall off the rails?
I did have a great example from my mom and dad. This is something that's a bit generational when it comes to alcoholism and drug addiction, and I don't blame it on that
Mm,
in any way, shape, or form. But I do think it had its role to play.
mm,
But to be honest with you, I was young and dumb, and I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. I didn't want to. I was bored in class. I didn't want to do school or grades or I just didn't. I wasn't interested. Um,
yeah.
so that drove me to things that were not good. Hanging out with people that were doing wrong things. Gambling, drinking, doing drugs, and um, it just got worse as I got older. I of course I went to jail. I went through some bad things. I got out of jail. I graduated by the skin of my teeth. When I went
You
into jail,
graduated.
when I went into jail, it was my last semester of senior year of high school, and I had B's across the board. I had a good grades, and when I got out of jail, I'd missed all my midterms and everything. I had a 0.0 grade point average. I had I had 10 weeks to bring my grades up to graduate, and I made it happen.
Right.
um, After that, I just went to work, and I was spending my money on feeding my habits and not contributing anything to the world.
Yeah. So if you feel there's a generational element in there and you want 3 to 5 kids, how will Josh the dad make sure or try to make sure that the kids don't follow that path?
I think teaching them emotional intelligence as early as possible will play a big role in them having the prowess to avoid the things that I went to go dabble in. I'm a high energy person. I can focus on a lot of things at one time. So, when I was drinking and doing drugs and alcohol and partying with a lot of people, it kept me busy. And I just feel like if I would have known, I was dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety. And if I would have known that I was dealing with those things, then I probably wouldn't have went to going to use substances. It took me a long time to figure out that I had depression and anxiety, and that's what caused me to use. And then I was stuck in this perpetual loop of drugs making me feel better, but making me feel worse at the same time. And
Yeah.
it took a long time to sober up from that and realize like I'm just driving myself into a bigger hole. I need to figure out how to manage my depression and handle my anxiety in a healthy manner, in a healthy way in my day-to-day life that doesn't include using. And I didn't have the emotional intelligence that I needed when I was younger to know that. Um,
Yeah.
that's why I used, and I will teach my children the emotional intelligence they need to have when they are very young, so that they're smarter than that and they won't go through those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
teach them how to manage their stress and what their emotions mean, what they are, and how to move with them.
really cool, man, because one of the things that we've got access to these days, which our parents didn't have, is the internet. We've got access to so much more information. People generally talk about emotional stresses a lot more. We understand how the brain works a lot more. I try not to talk about mental health so much as opposed to mental fitness. So everybody has mental health. Every single person has
Yes,
it.
yes.
But mental fitness, not everybody has mental fitness. So I've had my troubles
Mental
in the
fitness
past.
plays a big role.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. It's huge. And so I've had my struggles in the past. They're not particularly well documented or well talked about, but I've attempted suicide twice in the past and was physically stopped twice in the past. So I've been to the bottom of the barrel and managed to turn it around. And work for me in many ways was a savior. And it sounds like it's been the same sort of
Same
thing
here.
for you as well. So was there a turning point for you, Josh? Was there like the worst day when you thought, I'm not doing this anymore? Was there a worst day, or what changed?
I don't think there's a worst day. I think things gradually just get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, 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 real bad. And you kind of wake up one day and you just look around and you're like, oh, I've been doing this to myself the whole time. And I'm only making it worse.
Yeah,
So, what can I do right now, sitting in this position where I am to make things better, make a different decision than I've been making, and put myself in a different place? So, I don't think it was any one day or any one thing. I was tired of using. I was tired of feeling the way I was. I was very suicidal.
yeah.
I attempted suicide and was stopped in my attempts twice as well. So
Okay. Yeah,
odd you say that. I'm sorry you went through that, but I do
yeah,
know what that's like myself. So I've been to the bottom of the barrel.
yeah, yeah,
I was just so strung out and so tired of being on drugs and on alcohol and feeling the way I was when I was sober from them the next day. It was made the depression and the suicide so much worse, because my chemical imbalance, I was just jacking up.
yeah, yeah. Do you think that growing up in Western society as a young man is more difficult now in some respects with certain parts of the woke agenda and
I do.
equality and all these sorts of things? Yeah.
I do. I think it's a concrete jungle out here. I think it's hard to I think it's hard to raise productive members of society when we got a bunch of screens and sugar to hand over to our kids.
Mm,
I
mm.
think, and that's all we're sold out here, man, is sugar, sugar, sugar. And here's an iPad, here's a phone. And, in the 1960s, 90% of homes or 80% of homes made their own bread, laid their own eggs from their own chickens, grew their own vegetables and fruits in their
Yeah,
gardens. And nowadays it's like less than 5% or less than 10% of homes. It's just, things have changed. So I feel like, with things changing, it makes things harder to raise productive members of society. But I feel like we got to take those phones, those iPads away. We got to live a healthy lifestyle, like you're talking about, mental fitness.
mm,
That plays a role with kids as well. You have to teach your kids mental fitness so they grow
yeah.
up to use that mental fitness as adults.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've got two kids. I've got a 12-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy. And particularly my boy has had some struggles, let's say. And, I try and teach him this mental fitness idea that you don't win or lose, you win or learn, big
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah.
About
It's not a
turning his
loss, it's a lesson.
Yeah, it's not a loss. It's a lesson. That's what it is. So I try to inculcate into my kids these same sort of mental fitness principles that life is not designed to be good. People say, I just want to be happy. Guess what? You're not going to be happy. Life is not geared up for happiness. You will
Yeah,
experience happiness.
seriously.
You're going to experience happiness in the way that you experience the
But life
wind
is
blow
ups
through
and
your hair.
downs.
Yeah, full of, people just want to get happy and stay happy. They're going to be the delusioned people because life is not geared up that way. It's not set up that way. So I think to equip our children with the mental fitness that they need to deal with the lows of life is part of our role as parents. I'm partway through my journey. You're just about to embark on yours, and it's
Yeah.
tough. It's very difficult. And who knows? You think about how the world has changed in the last 15 years. 15 years ago, solar
Yeah.
panels were around, but they weren't on every house. 15 years ago, technology,
No.
is not what it is now. So you fast forward to what issues you'll be facing with your son and daughter 15 years from now. We
15
can't
years from
even
now,
begin
holy
to
cow.
think. We
Can't even
can't predict
fathom
what
it.
they're going to be. We don't know what they're going to be. So the world is changing rapidly, and I think that it will continue to do so. And as parents, we've got a tough job on our hands. But no doubt the generations previous gone before us would say that technology changed and everything else. But I think things are
Yeah.
moving at a more rapid pace. So let's leave something positive out of our mental fitness discussion.
Yeah.
If you knew that one of the watchers or listeners to this episode was really struggling with their mental fitness to the point where they were really at the bottom of their barrel, what would you try and say to them in order to help them realize life can improve for them again?
If you're struggling with your mental fitness right now, I would say there's a few things you can do in your daily life that would immediately change that. They're routine things, and they're routine things that are good for the body. It's just physical activity. If you do 60 minutes of exercise every single day, your depression will certainly lower. You
Yeah.
will feel less depressed. It is clinically, scientifically proven that when you work out and cause physical stress or exertion on the body, it increases the dopamine levels in your brain. So if you just start a regimen, start a small workout regimen and do a workout every day and get committed to that, I guarantee you will start to feel better. But seek help, speak to someone, and don't let anybody push any type of medication or anything on you that you don't want to take. I think that's a big thing. I had a lot of people push a lot of medication on me, and I decided not to take any of it. And to this day, I've used a lot of the things that I've learned from therapists and from speaking with other friends and family that have dealt with these issues. Skills to life that teach me how to manage these feelings and these issues. And it's been a long time since I've dealt with any type of suicidal thoughts because of these skills. So just seek some help, seek somebody to speak to. I guarantee you they will have some tools and some nuggets that will help. Get exercising.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great message, Josh. Great message. And so moving forward, then obviously you're going to be busy with children, busy with work. Sounds like you're going to have a lot of stuff on your plate. Um, do you think there's any possibility of regression for you ahead or not? How will you maintain your mental fitness?
Well, with how committed I am to like my daily regimen, like when I wake up, what I do in the morning when it comes to, my protein and my fitness and things like that. I don't see any of that falling to the wayside. Maybe the times will have to change because I do have, children and, other life things that are changing. I forgot your question. What was it again?
Is there any chance you feel of a regression into some of the bad habits that you
Oh,
used to keep or not? Because
no, I don't believe.
pressures are
I
what
don't,
bring people there, aren't they? You've got some big pressures in life that are coming. Kids are not easy things to do, and circumstances may change with elderly parents and all these things. How will you make sure you manage your mental fitness? That's what we want for you.
yeah, like I said, the regimen that I have now, the people that I have in my life, and the people that I talk to on a regular basis keep me where I need to be in my place of happiness, even when things are low. Things are not always easy, especially running a business. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I've experienced a bank account that was many, many thousands in the negative,
Yeah,
and
yeah, absolutely.
that happens as a business owner. So, I've been in some very tough positions and have been, pressured with regression a lot, but it hasn't happened. And it hasn't happened because of the people that I have around me, the people that I have supporting me, the people that I can go to, the people that I can talk to. And, this child has pushed me to be better already. I've even quit more habits. Maybe they weren't drugs and alcohol. It was alcohol. I haven't had a drink since my wife got pregnant, and that
Yeah.
was 7 months ago. I
Yeah.
quit smoking nicotine. I've been trying to quit smoking nicotine for years. I quit smoking cigarettes 2 years ago and was been smoking a vape this whole time. And she got pregnant, and I was like immediately done. I quit cold turkey because that's not a habit I want to teach my children. That is not something I want my child to see. That is not a positive. So like I just with what I've learned in life and what I've been moving with, I don't see any form of regression happening. I've got a good support system behind me, and I know they're not going anywhere.
That's amazing. That's really, really good, Josh. Your journey is parallel to mine in some ways, very different in other ways. But I've just turned 43 2 weeks ago.
You look great,
Uh,
man. You don't look 43.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, I had a downhill paper round when I was a kid. So yeah, I mean, I've just turned 43. I've got some more years behind me than you have, but I can see many parallels. My troubles came along when I was 30, and it took me, I would say, a good 3 years to work my way through those problems. But you've got yours done earlier on in life. I wish I knew what you know when I was 28. It may well have stopped me, it may well have helped me. And so I'm sure that as you progress through your journey of parenthood, your kids are just going to learn so much from you because you've got a great example to show to them of what hard work and reward brings. We take risks as business owners. We have to. It's part and parcel of the game. I also have suffered a bank account, many thousands overdrawn. I mean, I had a £350,000 internal fraud. So what's that? 350,000,
Wow.
385,000, $400,000 internal fraud. So
Wow.
in one day, I had to sack 2 people, fired them, and I made 22 redundant. I lost everything.
I
Um,
myself had a $172,000 office discrepancy with invoices and payments, and it was
I,
terrible.
Yeah, nightmare, nightmare. But people like us, through our personal life, are probably business resilient, and we don't fold and we don't give up.
Yeah,
And so I
true.
think that bodes well for our futures. So, Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I'm sure that our paths are going to cross one time when I come to the US.
Hopefully, I'll
Um,
see you in Texas here soon.
yeah, you know what, bro? That'd be fantastic. See you in Texas. We could meet up and share some stories, and yeah, maybe go for a run together or push some weights or something. That'd
Yeah,
be good.
yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it, Steve.
So that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words you've given me today. I'm excited for parenthood, so I'm sure you'll be hearing from me. I might have some questions from you here as a father in the future. So
I'm
hopefully the line will be open.
always here for you, bro. Always here for you, Josh. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your insights. It's been really nice for me to enjoy this conversation with you. So thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the very best in the next few weeks and months ahead with the newborn.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having us on today on Solar TV. So thank you again for the invitation, and I'll be ready for those next few months. I'm preparing right now.
Okay,
All right,
amazing.
blessings.
Take
Have a
care,
great
Josh.
day. Thanks again.
You too. Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
now. Good
Bye.
luck.